You wouldn't want to hit that as hard, but I tell you, the safety on these cars now is fantastic. And look there, there's Brian Herta, and right behind him is Al Unser Jr.
Yeah, we were tracking Al, though. He was due in just before the yellow came out, Jan.
Yes, Paul. In fact, what happened was he came in under green. They serviced the car, and then they went to full course yellow. So he's been caught by the pace car. He's shown, at least at the moment, on the scoring monitor as 1 lap down. His stop was 14.7 seconds. They put 4 tires on. They made no changes. Their only complaints were, as we talked about before, the tires getting too hot and the track getting greasy. Now to update Michael Andretti. His last radio communication was that the car is undrivable. So when we saw them try to fix the front suspension, at the moment, that is not helping him. And as Danny alluded to, that thing is just not straight enough for him to go to the front.
Yeah, but Jan, we're going to have a lengthy yellow. They're actually going to bring out one of the jet machines and help get some of the dust off the track. Do you think that's something they'd give a try to?
Well, the interesting thing is they did not even act like they were going to bring Michael in. I guess they feel as though they've done everything they can do short of changing the actual steering arm itself. Maybe they feel they can't change it in less than a lap. We'll check in further, but so far the crew has made no indication they're going to bring him in under this yellow.
That little Al's down in 11th place, though, on the course right now. As we watch Stefan Johansson walk away, he was right behind Brian Herta, who is the leader on the track. You know, not far from here on the Monterey Peninsula is the inn at Spanish Bay, and many of the drivers, like Bobby Rahal, checked out the links there at Pebble Beach, those beautiful courses. Right next to the rolling Pacific Ocean. Spanish Bay, I'll tell you what, it's great. Well, now, full course yellow. There's Bobby Rahal. He's driving a little better here than I think he was driving on the course, though he is a most accomplished golfer. After 55 of the 83 laps, there is the lineup. Under the full course caution for Stefan Johansson, but he was walking back, heading, in fact, back for the pits after ending his drive of the day, his drive with Tony Bettenhausen, and no indication what Tony will be doing for a driver or for a team for next year. Neither an indication from Stefan Johansson, who is going to be involved in an Indy Lights team, though as an owner, not as a driver. But there is a skilled young man. Can we say young? 40? Yeah, that's young. You bet it's young. 40 years old today. Here are the points as we look at them and continue to track at the moment. Jimmy Vasser, 156. Andretti comes up to second. Then Zanardi. Jan Bikas?
Stefan Johansson has made his way here to the top of the pits. I know that's not how you wanted to end your IndyCar season. What happened?
I honestly don't know. It came over the hill and something just ceased in the back end. Turned me sideways before I even got on the brakes, and next thing I knew, I was just a passenger until I hit the wall.
Now, do you have any idea what your plans will be? You've talked about ownership of Indy Lights, but what about driving?
I'm talking to a number of teams right now, and hopefully I will have my plans finalized within the next month or so.
Well, thankfully, he's okay. Let's go to Gary.
We've talked so much, Jan, about the pressure that this Target team and Jimmy Vasser and everyone has been under in the last few weeks of this season. Well, here's an indication that maybe the pressure is being lessened, because Jimmy Vasser, as he exited on the last pit stop, I had to verify this with the crew, but I thought I saw him make a sign, and he did one of these, the Hawaiian shaka. He was waving to them saying, hang loose, everything's cool. You got to love the guy's style.
Jimmy Vasser, looking for a championship, is where he needs to be if he wants to score it. And Brian Herta may be looking at his first victory. One of the other things we've been tracking throughout this IndyCar season is Rookie of the Year, the great Canadian Greg Moore. And, of course, now we know he's fabulous, Alex Zanardi. And calculations completed last week gave Alex Zanardi the IndyCar Rookie of the Year honors and a big chunk of money. And that comes, by the way, out of the memorial to Jim Truman, one of the great owners in this sport, who passed away 10 years ago. $50,000 goes to Alex Zanardi for being the Rookie of the Year. Now he'd like to get around that car in front of him, Brian Herta. We're still under the full course caution here. And they are putting the cars back in race order and ready to go back green, hopefully very shortly. Let's go to Jan.
as long as we're under yellow, let's talk to Max Pappas. What put you out, Max?
Actually, we had an engine problem. We're running no problem, under control. We were just going towards the end of the race, and we started to go to push very hard. But something very strange, because no advice and just the engine blew up. But we are in a good direction for next year. This will not stop us, and we are doing a good job.
Now you signed. How excited are you for next year in this program?
Definitely Toyota is going to be very strong, like MCI and Sierra Wells team. So, really look great. I am very pleased to be part of this team, and I'm sure Max Pappas will take a lot of satisfaction, and Mad Max will be over here.
All right, Mad Max, let's get back up to Paul.
Yeah, I'm really glad he did that, because a lot of people have been saying, now that's Max Papi. And I asked him, I said, wait a minute, you told me to call you Pappas. He said, yeah, here's the way it is. If I'm in Europe and I'm being a European, then it's going to be Maximilian Papi. But if I'm in an American series, I'm going to be Mad Max Pappas. Cool? All right.
Sounds good to me.
So at Laguna Seca, we are ready to go back green. Don't forget the President's Cup preview here on ESPN. Thursday, 5:30 in the East, and then, of course, the match itself, the President's Cup. Match play competition featuring 12 players from the United States against 12 players from around the world. The field falling back into race order behind the PPG pace car. PPG, by the way, extending their ongoing agreement that has lasted right from the very first years of IndyCar. And as we look at Brian Herta at the front of the field, 58 laps of the 83 complete, Gary Gerald.
One update on the Alex Zanardi story this day, Paul. You were talking about him winning the $50,000 prize as Rookie of the Year. Before he got that blistered tire and was leading the race today, he also established a new record for laps led by a rookie in an IndyCar season at 603. And the record that he broke, remember Nigel Mansell's success back in 1993? Jan?
Michael Andretti got waved by the pace car, so he had a chance to get his car up to speed. He radioed to the pits and said, I can barely hold the car in a straight line coming up the straightaway. But they said, Michael, there's nothing we can do. We've bent that arm back as close as we can get it. It's not worth coming in to try and change it. So Michael Andretti is definitely going to have a handful.
Now the question would be, is it worth staying out for? Michael Andretti will come back to the green in 17th place. And the green should come out as they come to the bottom of the hill. There is the leader of the race, Brian Herta, and then the two teammates, Zanardi, Vasser. Well, the last thing they could afford is to get together right now.
Well, I think we're in Jimmy's position right now. He's going to be pretty cautious. The opportunity presents himself. He'll want to have a go at it. But I don't think he's going to throw that away with where Allenser Jr. and Michael are.
Coming back onto the pit straight as the green flag flies, and Brian Herta anticipates it well. Scott Pruitt trying to move down inside Gugelmin for a pass. He gets around him. Pruitt takes Gugelmin. Zanardi and Vasser, no contest with one another. They're not stupid. They're going to stay right together there. Greg Moore now closing up on Gugelmin. Scott Pruitt, the man on the move. Brian Herta leading them for turn 5.
See everybody squirming there? That's because they don't have the tire temperature up exactly where they want it.
Ray Hall right behind Moore. There is Herta with Alex Zanardi now on the charge. Fight is at the front of the field, climbing the hill. Up toward the top of the corkscrew. And now that swing down the hill. Now in the qualifying battle, Brian Herta had the provisional pole through all of the qualifying right down to the very last lap. It was taken away from him by Alex Zanardi. There are those two combatants together on the circuit. Herta leads it. Scott Pruitt closing on Jimmy Vasser. just sitting with the onboard. I watch him come up the gear. We move now, we'll move back to Michael Andretti. You saw how the car is when it's working perfect. Michael's still holding on to 17th. Davy Jones is behind him. His teammate Christian Fittipaldi ahead of him.
Whoa, that was a little close.
I think it was Goodyear. Yeah, it was Goodyear. Just got a glimpse of that silver helmet.
Well, the last thing Michael wanted to see was him shoot back across the track. And that was the last thing that Goodyear wanted to happen, too. He just wanted to spin it over there and stop.
Could be terrible. I could be wrong.
Boy, look at that kickback on his hands when he went through that corner. Just a kickback in that wheel.
Corner station called that as car 5. That would make Gordon slid off in front of Michael. I'm going to wait. You know, you really can't debate the corner stations when you think about it, because they are right there. Volunteers from the San Francisco region of the SCCA, and some other regions contributing as well, but primarily San Francisco. By the way, Robbie Gordon's now been reported sliding off the course a second time. So apparently a problem with Robbie Gordon as Brian Herta holds off Alex Zanardi, and Jimmy Vasser is still in position for the championship. Mauricio Guzman being challenged by Greg Moore. Guzman is 5th. Gore has been right down behind him most of the way. Brian Herta is still the leader. Nothing has changed at the front. Jimmy Vasser is still exactly where he wants to be as Michael Andretti and Al Unser Jr. fall further and further back and away from a chance at a championship. There's the way the points would end up. Andretti in 2nd. We mentioned that before. He eclipsed Zanardi, but he still is in a very precarious position. And of course, Al Unser Jr. sitting there with 127 against Zanardi as well.
Look at, we're on board with Jimmy Vasser. He's right behind his teammate. Closing on him. Greg Moore looks like he's pulling away a little bit from those two. And Jimmy Vasser's pulled out some on Scott Pruitt. You know what's interesting? We were showing Greg Moore there just a moment ago, who's back up into 6th spot right behind Big Mo. Remember, he tried to pass Big Mo a while ago and spun off, and he's come all the way back up and caught him again.
Evenly spaced up the hill, Herta, Zanardi, Vasser, and Pruitt, Jan Beekes.
Guzman, the reason that Guzman is dropping back into the clutches of Moore is because the tires are going off. A very similar situation to what we heard from some of the other Goodyear runners like Al Unser Jr. But that doesn't explain necessarily how well Brian Herta is running with the same kind of rubber.
Well, Jan, as you know, tires going off, that usually has a little to do with the balance of the car as well, because look at Brian Herta. He's pulling away from those two guys. He's doing well. I think that means that they've just got their setup a little bit off, and they're using up the tires more.
And Brian Herta leads through the hairpin, Gary.
And possibly, Paul and Danny, exactly what's happened here is that Herta has just been cleared by his crew to go up on the fuel. That means they can richen it up, get maximum use out of that power plant. So no fuel concerns at this point. They were good to go the distance, and they've given him the green light to just turn it on and charge.
And Gary, the best guess would be that that's true for everybody.
Exactly. We heard that from Scott Pruitt's camp just a short time ago. They had plenty of fuel. They went to full rich. They were hoping that they could make a run on the Ganassi cars, but it looks like those top 4 pretty evenly spaced right now.
Well, the way the day is going at the moment, we may see some brand new names. Brian Herta scoring his first win in the Indy cars, and Jimmy Vasser taking the PPG Cup for the first time in his racing career. We're back at Laguna Seca Raceway, And the battle for the championship belongs to Vasser at the moment. The race itself belongs to Brian Herta as Raul Boisel suddenly slows off of the final corner, slows coming up the hill in the pit straight. He was doing so well, too. He was running in the bottom half of the top 10 and carving his way through the field, and then suddenly just pulls off to the right side of the course as they started up the hill. This will end his ride, of course, with Team Green, Barry Green's team. No indication of what happens then next year. Robbie Gordon was originally supposed to go to that team, but no, he's decided he's going to go over and take Kyle Petty's ride in the Winston Cup Championship with Felix Sabatis, and so Green has nobody. Harry Gerald?
Interested onlooker down here in the Rahal Herta camp, David Letterman. Letterman making, I believe, his second appearance this season at an IndyCar event. Of course, is involved in ownership with Bobby Rahal with this team. And while Letterman watches intently on a monitor here and charts the progress of both of his drivers, he is the one personality at this end. Joe Montana, who had been here Friday and Saturday next door in the target pits, had a commitment that wouldn't allow him to be here today. And Montana said, man, it is killing me because we got a chance to kill a championship off. But no Montana. Dave Letterman's here, however, and he's cheering on Hertamania.
Originally from Indianapolis, Indiana, a massive race fan. Boisel off the edge of the course now, wasn't even able to make it up the hill, Jan.
That's right, Paul, because he had another engine problem. Remember, just last week in Vancouver, they had engine difficulties as well. So Team Green, boy, it's been a tough season for Barry and his brother down here.
Oh, don't let your foot off the brakes. Last time that Bobby Rahal, as we ride with him, won a race as a car owner, 66 races ago, Nazareth in 1992. 18 of the drivers that started today's race don't have 66 starts. Team Green, I want to put this to rest right now because we know that Team Green's looking for an American driver with a good portfolio. You are not available, Mr. Sullivan. Right? Right, Mr. Sullivan?
No comment.
Oh, no. Oh, that'll add to rumors.
Put me on the spot, would you? Just put me on the spot.
You know?
You just had to start that one going, didn't you?
Well, somebody did. I started. It's been all over the paddock all weekend. What's Danny going to do? You're going to lose Danny. No, I'm not. I got a handcuff on him. He's staying with me. So Rahal climbs the hill on a beautiful day here. Temperatures in the high 80s. Been a cloudless sky right from the time the practice started. Brian Herta is the leader. All the pit stops are complete. Everybody has enough fuel to make the end. And so now it will be a sprint to the finish as we move to the closing laps here at Laguna Seca. Bobby Rahal, his teammate, Brian Herta, is leading the race. Rahal is in 7th place. The Team Ganassi sits second and third with Zanardi in second. Jimmy Vasser in 3rd place. That's the position Vasser needs for the championship. And sitting in the shade is Raul Boisel.
Now, how do you think that Bobby Rahal feels? Like you said, 66 races ago, he won one, but he was the driver. What do you think that feeling is, knowing that his young protege, if you like, is the guy's other teammate is out there and going to look poised to win a race? And how do you think that Brian Herta feels? This is the time I enjoy the most. You got, say, 10 laps to go. You got Alex Zanardi very close behind you, and it's all yours to win for your very first victory.
Well, it's enjoyable for you? Is it enjoyable for Herta? Or is it driving him nuts?
I'm sure his adrenaline's flowing, and I'm sure he'd like to have a big lead, but it's what you live for. This is some of the greatest moments because you're racing for that first victory.
So Brian Herta continues his lead here. Zanardi's right there working on him. The championship will be awarded here, and you'll see the presentation of the PPG Cup during the Canadian Open coverage following this run. Moving now within the final laps of the season with 9 to go.
And you see that gap there, that red car that came into view behind these two guys? That was Jimmy Vasser. I can tell you what he's thinking right now. He says, I've got a good lead right here on 4th spot. I've got this championship. I just got to finish it. I'm not going to race with those guys and take a chance on making a mistake or breaking anything.
Jimmy Vasser, who cut his racing teeth out here on the West Coast, comes from San Francisco. You name it, he drove it. Beck Jan Beekes' father, I think, even built some of his quarter midget motors. Looking for his first IndyCar championship. Couldn't go to a nicer young man. Pure racer. Focuses right on the season all the way.
And look at this. I mean, that for the 9 laps to go, look how close these guys are.
As you look there with 8 to go, the 8th position, the 9 car, that's Jan Magnussen, Emerson Fittipaldi's ride until the crash at the start of the Michigan 500. And not a solid indication there yet as what is going to happen with both Emerson and with that team for next year.
No, I don't. When I talked to those guys over the weekend, nobody knew for sure. I think a lot of that comes down to what Roger wants to do and Carl Hogan. Look at this, though. Now, these guys have a lot at stake. Right out there is Brian Herta. His first win, not very far away. But Alex Zanardi has a lot at stake. So does Chip Ganassi. If he wins that thing, he'd move into 2nd in the championship. Like you said, there's a lot of money difference there, but also a 1st and 2nd in the championship for Chip Ganassi Racing if he were to get by.
Brian Herta slams down the gears, heads into the hairpin, Jan Beekes.
Yes, and of course the radio communications when you get to the final stages are always great down here on pit road. They're calling Brian Herta and they keep saying over and over, Brian, you're the man. Brian, you're the man. You can do it. They're trying to give him all the encouragement they can down here from Team Rahal.
Yeah, but I tell you what, he's got the flying Italian right behind him. Zanardi, there's the radio communication going out from the man on the wall, Chip Ganassi, keeping track of both Jimmy Vasser and Brian Herta from his scoring stand. So Brian Herta leads it. Alex Zanardi's working on him. Jimmy Vasser is in 3rd place. He can get the championship there. When we come back, we'll see how all of this resolves. Of course, the IndyCars also fight for the Nations Cup. That's a scoring system that determines, will it be an American, maybe a Brazilian like De Ferran, a Swede like Johansson, well, the United States, that ends up taking home the Nations Cup for the 2nd year in IndyCar competition over Brazil, Canada, Italy, Mexico, and Sweden. Running now in the final laps. That's Andre Ribeiro over against the pit wall. Didn't contact, but apparently something happened, a small fire in the back of the car. They doused that all out with water. All the crew members for the different teams will keep plenty of water there, and also the IndyCar safety people were right there. They're going to leave the car right there. Alex Zanardi, they just reported, off and on the circuit. The course marshals here, you couldn't run this race without him. Let's take a look at this. Zanardi coming down under the bridge. Oh, that's a big mistake.
He is lucky that he didn't lose that completely there and hook it and spin it and move Jimmy Vasser up into 2nd, but he recovered nicely, and look how far he is behind. Not very far at all.
You know what? That's more than a little unbelievable. Gary Gerald.
Chip Ganassi just a moment ago had a look at the monitor and saw that replay. What happened when you saw that replay?
I'll tell you, my heart skipped a beat. You can say that, Gary. My heart skipped a beat.
The emotion of this moment as you're getting so close now to wrapping up a championship for your other driver, Jimmy Vasser.
We saw at CART Lake anything can happen, and it's far from over yet.
The good luck charm of Joe Montana today. It's got to be tough not having him here, particularly for him.
He was here all weekend, Gary, and he had to leave today for Italy on a business trip, and they couldn't get out of it. I know his wishes are here, and he gave us all good wishes last night, and he stayed here in Monterey until the last possible moment and took off for the airport.
Thanks, Chip. Good luck.
Thank you.
Zanardi still working on the leader, Brian Herta. 79 laps are complete. The sweep down the hill, the left-hander onto the pit straight. Climb up over the brow of the hill here, head for turn 1. Flashing across the start-finish line. 80 laps now into the record book. 3 to go. what does Zanardi do? What is he capable of?
Well, he's got to try as hard as he can, but let me tell you, that little off that he almost had there before where he got in the dirt, that's a big wake-up call to him, because he knows that he can push it, but not too far. He slid off. See, somebody else is just going off.
Michael
there.
off and on.
Michael's, boy, he's still trying, even with that broken. Look how hard he's driving that thing.
You can't ask for any more out of somebody like Michael. He's staying in there, keeping the car alive. Again, tracking the points. Vasser with the championship. But Michael, by keeping it out there, look at that. That's worth a lot of money. No wonder he's staying out there.
Oh, yeah. He didn't want to give that up.
Up at the front, it's still Brian Herta, Alex Zanardi, Jimmy Vasser is third, Scott Pruitt up to fourth, Mauricio Guzman is fifth. Brian Herta, Mercedes Power, may be driving Mercedes to its first victory of the year. And in counterpoint, they'll be changing over to Ford Cosworth for next year at that team. Roberto Moreno could jeopardize Michael in terms of points. Michael is in 12th place. He needs that 12th. Roberto Moreno can take it away. He's lost points now. Now back to the front of the field. Whoa! Richie Hearn. Zanardi now right on the back of Brian Herta. Watching Zanardi. Key is on him.
I think that might have been a little bit to do with the traffic there with Richie Hearn. They had to get through there. But look how close this is. Boy, I tell you, Brian Herta's heart is pumping right now like you wouldn't believe.
Well, the pressure is on. Coming to the conclusion of the 82nd lap. They climb the hill. The white flag flies. There is one more lap to go in the IndyCar season. Can Brian Herta hang on for that lap?
Well, remember one thing, too. Zanardi's got to get right behind him, and then he's got to find a way past him. He's got to be able to pass him. Brian can't afford to make any mistakes here.
Zanardi is there. He can strike. Jimmy Vasser is in a position that is almost unassailable in the championship right now. He will come home first championship for Jimmy Vasser. Brian Herta, United States. Jimmy Vasser, United States. Two new names, both from the U.S. in this series that has become so international. So the battle for the PPG Cup. Look, look, here he comes, here he comes, here he comes, and he gets him. Can he get him back? Can he hang on?
Oh, look at this.
Down through the boards on the final lap. Alex Zanardi, remember, twice we've had the change on the final lap of the race this year. Alex Zanardi at the top of the hill, an area you would not normally try and pass. Ducks the inside of Brian Herta, goes all the way off the course on the right-hand side, and Alex Zanardi, with a brilliant move, takes the checkered flag from the pole and the win here at Laguna Seca. Unbelievable. And the championship will go to Jimmy Vasser. Brian Herta finishes in second place. Jimmy Vasser from San Francisco. And at that moment, Jimmy Vasser is the IndyCar champion, the winner of the PPG Cup. And when we come back, we'll be talking with Jimmy Vasser as our new champion, and we'll take another look at that final lap. Had to wait until the final lap of the final race to see what may be the most spectacular pass of the year as Alex Zanardi moves around Brian Herta and picks up the lead. Here are the unofficial results of the run here at Laguna Seca in a day that paid off its promise all the way before a gigantic crowd here. And as Brian Herta has the race stolen from him at the last minute, Jimmy Vasser is passed by Scott Pruitt. It does not matter to the championship, though. It gives Pruitt a podium position, third place. But Jimmy Vasser is the champion, and he will receive the Indy Cup, the PPG Cup, the symbol of the IndyCar championship here. Unofficial results